Hey folks, we're taking a look at lesson 15 here, the Artist 4. This is the first lesson in our accelerated intro course where Code.org allows you to make your own functions. And right away in Bubble 1, they give you kind of a heads up about a fundamental fact regarding functions. Okay, they've given me two functions here. We've got a draw a square function and a draw a circle function. And you can see under the functions menu, those blocks are there. But if I run this right now, nothing happens. Okay, so, and my screen just emptied out. What the heck is that about? Okay, that was weird. Well, anyway, I ran it, and it didn't draw either a square or a circle, right? It drew nothing. And the point here is that with functions, you need two things for a function to work when you're going to make your own function. The first thing you need is a definition. And that's what these two are. Okay, we've got the definition of a draw a square function. And you see everything inside of this green block, this repeat 4 times code. This is the code needed to draw a square. And that's why this code went in there into that definition block. And then down here, repeat 360 times, move by 1, turn by 1. We know that that's the code that will draw a circle. So if you put that code into this definition block, now the computer, Code.org, and the computer knows what to do when you run this function. It does this. Okay. Now it won't actually run though, just with a definition. All we've done is teach the computer what these blocks mean. We haven't actually told the computer to do it, to use it. And so you actually have to pull a block out and add that to the when run. And this draw a circle block is different from this one down here. Okay, this one down here is called the definition. Just like in the dictionary, we have definitions of words. And this block up here is the call. So I'm going to call the draw a circle function. And when I do that, it's going to run the code down here inside of the definition. So let's go ahead and try that. And you can see that it is drawing a circle. And you can see by the blinking highlighting there that it's running the code inside of that definition. Okay. So moral of the story here. When you create a new function definition, that's not enough. You also have to call it. And now we got it. Okay. So let's go on to Bubble 2. And here they're going to give us a chance to expand on our knowledge, right? We know that there are definitions and calls, but they've only given us draw a square here. And obviously that's not going to do the trick. So now we get to try our hand at making a new function. So you drag out this empty definition block, you name it. In this case, you have to name it exactly like this. Draw a triangle, or Code.org won't recognize what you've done. And now, if I check in my functions area, I've got a block so that I can call that new function, draw a triangle. And now if I run it, uh-oh, nothing happened again. Why not? Well, okay, I created a new function, but inside of that definition, there's nothing there. I have not told the computer what to do when this function is called. Okay, so we hopefully remember how to draw a triangle, right? So let's go ahead and repeat 3 times, move forward, turn right, and if I remember correctly, the triangle turn is 120. And let's run it now. Ta-da, it worked. I'm going to go back and replay here. See, I put the code in there. I want to make a quick point though. The name of a function, Code.org doesn't recognize what you're naming it. Okay, if I wrote draw a, I don't know, child, because my child is next to me trying to get herself into this recording right now, I'll run it and it'll still draw a triangle, even though I named it draw a child. Okay, so the point is the name is something that you put in there for other humans, not for the computer. All the computer cares about is the code inside. Now I am the human you're naming this function for, and I care that you name it something useful. If you name it draw a triangle, it better draw a triangle. Get my point? Cool. Let's pop ahead to bubble 5. And here we get to one of the real big powers of function definitions. Okay, is we have two functions defined here that code.org gave us. We've got one that draws a triangle, and we've got another one that draws a square. And they're saying create a new function called draw a house. And of course we want that function to draw a house. Now here's the beauty of it. Okay, a house, as we can see in the picture, is a square followed by a triangle. Well, I have functions that do those things, right? So the first thing I should do to draw a house is draw a square. And then after that, I should draw a triangle. So you see what I've done is in my draw a house function, I've called two other functions. So you can kind of chain them up, and that's what I've done here. I purposefully organized my functions in two layers here to show you that that's kind of how it's structured, right? The square and the triangle functions are on the bottom layer. And then one layer higher, in my draw a house function, I've called these functions beneath. So if I call the draw a house function now that I just created, when it gets to this line, it's going to jump down into here. Calling draw a square means it's going to jump down here and do this. And when it's done, it'll come back up here and go to the next line, draw a triangle. And that'll make it jump down into this definition. And when it's done with that, it'll jump back into draw a house. It'll see that it's done with those two. Then it'll jump back to the main line of code, and it'll see that that's the end, and it'll kill the execution of the code. So if I run this, you can see that it didn't quite turn out. Right, my draw a house function has a problem. It doesn't actually draw a house. So the place I need to edit is here, not up in the main line, right? My draw a house function isn't working yet because it doesn't yet draw a house. So I got to do a little bit of tweaking inside of this function till I get this thing working. Thinking maybe 30 degrees. Is that going to fix it? There we go. So I just needed to add a couple of lines of setup code in there between the square and the triangle to get this function actually drawing a house. I hope this helps, right? And I hope you can see that with function composition, that's what I just did, where you define a function that calls other functions. You can make layer upon layer upon layer of functions and end up with some really complex drawings this way. So happy coding!